This podcast is a member of the Voices of Wrestling Podcasting Network. Visit voicesofwrestling.com to hear the rest of our great podcasts, as well as show reviews, columns, opinions, and updates across the world of wrestling.
Competition starting to get thick, it's the click, so I hope you work your A game. A made no rain from the track when we unite and spit. This is an A game, better bring your A game. Competition starting to get thick, it's the click, so I hope you work your A game. A made no rain.
Hey, now it's the Mike and JD show, and I'm your host, Mike Gilbert, and I'm joined as always by JD by God Oliva. How you doing, JD?
Good. Nice long day at work. Out there at 8 o'clock to work out. Had wrestling practice. Then we had parent-teacher conferences from noon to 8. Or 7. Noon to 7. And then I had kids practice. Little kids practice after that. So I just got home.
Wow. Yeah. I did my least favorite thing in the world today. I hate doing this. I never want to do it again, but unfortunately I have to. I went clothes shopping today at the mall. Yeah, on Black Friday week. But thankfully, we got there like pretty early. Funny thing is that I had to get my vehicle registration updated, and there is a satellite city hall in the mall. So I was like, okay, I'll go to the fucking DMV and then go clothes shopping. And I realized those are my two least favorite things to do in the entire world. But thankfully, the satellite office, they have an express lane for vehicle renewals, so registration renewals. So it was pretty easy to get it. I was like 30 minutes. So it wasn't
the Waikiki, the Waikiki Mall.
No, that's the Ala Moana. No, it's there's one that's kind of like a smaller, more subdued.
Gotcha.
It's called the Pearl Ridge Mall. So I go there. It's like 10 minutes from the house.
Gotcha. I've been to the Waikiki one when I was on my honeymoon way back in the day.
I was actually there, I want to say on Friday, because my wife bought something at Target online and then didn't look at the location, and the location was at Ala Moana Mall. And I'm like, well, shit, since we're going to go there, we might as well make like an evening of it. So we actually went to the food court and got food, and we went and did some window shopping and took the kids all around the Ala Moana Mall, and then came home.
Nice.
Yeah. But yeah, I had to go shopping because I'm getting ready to be corporate Mike. Corporate Mike is coming sooner rather than later, and I don't have any nice clothes. So I got some like band t-shirts and some wrestling shirts and a bunch of tank tops. And then of course I got my like dad polos, like my dry fit polos, just because they're really good if you got a couple extra layers of fat on your body. They really cool you down in the summertime. So I like those shirts. I don't have any like nice button ups. I don't have any nice shoes whatsoever. I got like skate shoes and running shoes and flip flops. That's all I got. So I had to go and get like some actual nice clothes today. And then I was there for hours and ended up with one outfit. So it's going to be
good.
It's just going to be a struggle to get to Charlotte with some nice clothes.
So you sound like a teacher with that wardrobe, quite frankly.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, actually, dude, today I bought like a blazer, and I bought some like nice slacks and some brown leather shoes, like a really nice pair of Stacey Adams shoes that happened to be 50% off because it's Black Friday. So instead of 115, I paid whatever half of 115 is. I paid that. So don't get me lying. I'm not even gonna try.
5-ish, something like that. I don't even know.
Yeah. But I should have a new wardrobe here pretty soon. That way I can go into the corporate world and not look like a complete schlub like I typically look.
I fortunately picked up a career where you can look like a complete schlub. I wore a flannel button down tucked into my jeans today, and that's like the most responsible that I've looked all year.
Oh man. Well, dude, I'm going to this. I'm not going to name the company. Because what I don't want is like some hater out there like emailing the company like, hey, this guy's an asshole, which I've seen that has happened to people in wrestling media.
I know.
I saw a guy on Twitter today said that Sean Ross Sapp did that to him after one of his arguments with Sapp. The Sapp actually, now I don't know why Sapp would do this. I'm sure the guy was a complete jerk, but Sapp actually emailed his bosses and took screenshots of the things he was saying on Twitter to get him fired. And I'm just like, man, this is going way too far.
Sean doesn't come off that petty to me. I mean, that must have been quite the interaction.
That guy must have really pissed off Sapp for Sapp to like go that far to win a Twitter war. Yeah.
That's extreme. Wow.
Yeah. But hey, guys, thank you for being here. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody. I'm glad you're here. You're probably listening, unless you're a Patreon subscriber, you're listening to this on Wednesday is when I'm going to release this to the Voices of Wrestling Network. So you're checking us out on Apple Podcast, Spotify, or you're probably watching this on YouTube. Give us a like, comment, and subscribe. I'd greatly appreciate it. Now, if a bunch of news is broken today and we're not getting to it, is because we're recording this on Monday night. A night that we typically don't record, but it was the best night for us to be able to get together this week. I just couldn't go on Thursday, and Wednesday might be too hectic too. So we're like, screw it. We both have Monday. Let's go ahead and do Monday, man. So we're recording a rare Monday night, and I thought, you know what? Might as well just give it to the Patreon subscribers first. That way they get the early access to it, and I just release to everybody else later in the week.
No, I was thinking I'm going to Dynamite on Wednesday, so like. Couldn't do it anyway that night. The Chicago tradition and all.
Yeah. So Full Gear was in the books. It was on Saturday night, and I was able to finish it late last night. It was so funny. I was in our text group with John Muse. I was telling you guys a story that last night after I was finishing the show, I had been trying since Saturday night to watch the show. And I was finally at the main event, and I'm watching Jon Moxley versus Orange Cassidy. And my wife comes down. She just got done feeding the baby, and she was coming down just to get a glass of water and get a snack before she headed back up to bed. And she's looking at the TV. She goes, and they called Jon Moxley Dean Ambrose, or no, they called him Jon Moxley. And she's looking at it. She goes, "Isn't that Dean Ambrose? Why are they calling him Jon Moxley?" And then so I had to explain to her, like, the difference between WWE and AEW, and explain to her how trademarks work, and that when you go to WWE, they don't let you use your regular name. They create a name for you. That way they can trademark the intellectual property, and then you can't use that anywhere else you go. And so once you go somewhere else, you have to have either your real name or the name that you started out with, or get a completely different name, but you can't use that same IP. So she got about 30 seconds into that conversation and wished she never jumped into it, and just continue to give me the old head nod. Like, okay, honey, you're smart. I get you.
Yeah, it's funny. Remember that weird window in like 2015 to 2016 when WWE let people come over with their real like names?
Samoa Joe, yeah.
Samoa Joe, AJ Styles, Bobby Roode, Eric Young. It was actually kind of a refreshing era in that regard, and it immediately stopped.
Yeah. I think they might be back to it a little bit. Depending on you know what? I can't give you a good example. Okay. Yeah.
I was wondering who was.
Yeah. I can't really give you a good example, but I do think they're probably still open to that now that Vince is gone. But there was a weird time in the mid 2010s when they brought in all the TNA guys, and we're like, well, you guys have been on TV for over 10 years. We might as well just let you use your real name. And that was the thing that Samoa Joe was worried about when he signed there. And I think he did a podcast. He's like, I had the conversation with Triple H. He's like, okay, well, what's my name going to be? And Triple H looks at me and like goes, well, Samoa Joe. He's like, oh, okay. He's just like, he was super surprised that they were going to let him keep it.
I guess Jade Cargill got to keep her name.
Yeah. Cody Rhodes, obviously.
Cody Rhodes.
He was Cody Rhodes before. Yeah.
Former AEW star CM Punk. He got to keep anything with WWE.
Yeah. Ethan Page would be a good example.
He's actually a pretty good example. You're right.
Sean Spears, he came over with his AEW, because he was
Ty Dillinger, which
Perfect
is
10.
Yeah.
What was the Perfect
Ty
10?
Dillinger.
Ty Dillinger, yeah. And then I think he might have been Gavin Spears at one time, and then when he was in AEW, he was Sean Spears. There.
They just got to come back as Sean Spears, which is weird that they let him do that. Well, whatever. Yeah.
They probably let him do. It's like, okay, dude, that's fine. You're not gonna win any matches anyway. It really doesn't matter. Yeah, thank you. You can count to 10. You're hilarious.
Are they still trying to tell us that Ethan Page is really good over in NXT?
I don't think they ever tried to tell us that he was really good, because he came in as such a schmarmy shit heel, and he was doing everything but actually wrestle to win his matches. So
okay.
Yeah, and his matches had a bunch of smoke and mirrors in it. I don't think they trust him to have really good matches. He's not a bad worker. I just don't think that he's like a legit star.
No,
he can. I think he has small room charisma, so it's like it makes sense that he's in NXT. He just didn't get over in AEW, despite the fact that he can kind of cut like a decent promo, but he doesn't really do it good enough to where people think that you're all that interesting.
Well, and he was in AEW time too, where guys were cutting really good promos. Like, how do you cut a good promo on John Moxley, and Eddie Kingston, and CM Punk, and MJF? Like, these guys were like classic promos.
Yeah.
So I mean, like he kind of got swallowed up at a wrong time, really.
Yeah, he did. So I actually think that NXT is probably like a good spot for him now.
Oh, I agree. I think he's
and I don't watch NXT, so that's fine. Like
exactly.
they can have. I don't think that NXT is a good spot for Pillman Jr., I think he goes by Lexus King now, but he is saying that was his idea to change his name. I don't know how true that is.
Mm-hmm. No place in pro wrestling is a good place for Brian Pillman Jr. because he's just not a very good professional wrestler.
He just never put it together. And you know what? And he got a lot of chances too.
He did.
Because I think AEW really tried with him at one point. Mm-hmm. They were really trying to get behind him, but they just and then they go out there and put him out there, and then they would see what he was doing. It's like, we just can't.
He had a match with MJF at the first Arthur Ashe show.
Yeah. Yeah. Talk about trying to give a guy a shot. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Like, you can't be like, Tony dropped the ball, man. Remember that when he was coming out on the throne? People were like, Tony dropped the ball.
Yeah.
And then, I just remember, like, one of their biggest TV show ever, he wrestled MJF and like didn't lay a dud, but wasn't like, I had to remind you of that match, It's a largely forgotten about thing. I'll never forget because he called his mom Methany, his late mom. Actually, that was a harsh thing to call.
God, man, how, and his mom died shortly after that too.
Very shortly after, I believe, of a drug overdose. So it's like,
ugh. Talk about like hitting below the belt, and Pillman Jr. is like, he's from a wrestling family, so he's probably cool with it.
Yeah.
But I like, me personally, I just wouldn't be cool with it. And not only would I not be cool with it, I wouldn't even ask to like go there if I were the other guy. That's just me though. That's
why you're not MJF. Thank God.
Yeah. He loves to get heat any way he can. He is very much of like that Bully Ray, like, philosophy of heel. It's like you could tell he really studied Bully Ray or Bubba Ray Dudley from when he was in ECW. It's like, it doesn't matter what you have to do, what you have to say. Mm-hmm. If the crowd doesn't like you as a heel, you need to go out there and get on the mic. And he did that at Full Gear. It was like, you need to get out there and get on the mic and say whatever you can to get them riled up. And Bubba Ray Dudley was so bad in ECW at doing like good, like he was bad, but in a good way. Like, he could do it. He can get riots going. That my mom grounded me from watching ECW. She forbid ECW in my house because Bubba Ray Dudley told, like, it was a heat wave. I want to say 98 or 99. And there was an older lady with her daughter in the front row. And he said, this lady right here taught her daughter how to SD. And I'm not going to go like way too into it. And my mom was sitting right there in the chair watching that. And she goes, turn this shit off right now. She's like, you're never allowed to watch this garbage again. Get this out of my fucking house. I was like, oh my gosh.
Oh shit. That's funny. Yeah. If MJF could get away with saying stuff like that, or calling, people the other F word, not the FUCK word, but the other F word, he would be doing it.
Oh, he would. Yeah, he would. I couldn't imagine what MJF would be saying if he were in the 90s.
Oh my God, It would be ridiculous. He would be like Bubba Ray Dudley. You're right. That's exactly what he would be.
No, he would. All right. So yeah, Full Gear was on Saturday. I did get a chance to finish it. It's in the books. Overall, I thought it was a pretty good show.
I liked it a lot.
I don't think it's going to do anything to like get AEW fans like excited about the product. I don't really think we left there with anything that's like, hey, this is what I have really looking forward to based off of what we saw at Full Gear. We'll get into the Continental Classic brackets and after we get on talking about Full Gear. I think people are looking forward to that, but like Full Gear specifically, I don't know, coming away from anything other than maybe the future of Kyle Fletcher, that there's anything really to be excited about.
I came out of that show feeling better about AEW than I have in months, quite honestly.
Okay.
Like, I was really like after the first match, because Private Party sucks. After about the second match, I was really engaged in the show for the most part. I felt pretty good about it. I I'm really happy I'm going to Dynamite this week because I really thought about not going, but it's like I feel more engaged with the product than I have in a long time. I was really happy with it on the whole.
Yeah, I mean, so AEW, the one thing that they do that's probably better than anybody else is they can put on a show filled with a ton of great matches. Right? When they get to the pay-per-view, there's no governor chip on their talent. They say go out there and have an insane match. And one by one, they all attempt to do that. They don't always hit. A lot of times the matches don't always hit. And I thought there was some matches on this show that didn't quite hit. Specifically for me, the first two matches, the tag match, the tag title match, I couldn't have been less. It probably shouldn't have been on the pay-per-view, to be honest with you. Now I didn't watch the pre-show. So we're not going to cover the Costco guys. Like I'm not watching that, but apparently it got a lot of views on TikTok. So congratulations, AEW did a great job. But, but as far as the pay-per-view goes, the tag team division couldn't be more cold right now.
No,
there's nothing less interesting in AEW than tag team wrestling. And that's a damn shame because when they created the company, it was going to be off the backs of tag team wrestling. And then there for a while, they had the best tag team division in the entire world. And right now it's just there's no tag teams. Even FTR, they somehow made FTR completely uninteresting. The whole division is just completely cold.
I watched that show and I'm like, these are the 4 best tag teams we have. And I like Kings of the Black Throne, but I mean, Private Party stink. The Outrunners are just they're a comedy act. Yeah. And I can't even remember the other team who was the 4? Oh, the Acclaimed. The Acclaimed are done.
They're dead. Yeah, they're dead.
Yeah, it's over.
Yeah.
It's over. It's done. They need a Continental Classic for the tag team division, and they got to get the Bucks back, and they got to get, FTR hot again, and they really just got to show out for tag team wrestling. Maybe in the summertime or something like that. In 6 months, do something like that with tag teams, get people more engaged. Maybe buy the Crockett Cup name from Billy, and just go from there.
I mean, it has to be for sale, or just create your own, create something new. You know what I mean? But yeah, they could do a Crockett Cup or Deadlock Pro Wrestling in Charlotte, North Carolina. They do an annual tournament as well, and then of course what's that?
So I hear it's nice in Charlotte, North Carolina.
yeah. And then of course in Japan, you always have the World Tag League and Junior Tag League and all that. So I think they could do something similar. Maybe after the C2 is over, maybe do something in the beginning of the year and just ramp up your tag team division, get them hot again. Sign some new young tag teams. What the fuck ever happened to those British guys that they brought over from NXT?
Yeah, the Grizzly Young Vets. What the hell?
Yeah. Those guys are pretty good. Those guys are probably never going to get over, but they're really good.
They're good. They can win matches. I was thinking about stuff that AEW can do, to differentiate themselves and be more sports based. I think if they establish right away, why are we having this match? If you establish right away that a guy will get X number of dollars to win a match, all of a sudden you have a storyline built in. And if you have a guy in a losing streak, you could always, I was thinking about this, you could go on he's in a contract here. So he has to perform up to his contract. There's a lot of I was thinking about how you could relate pro sports to pro wrestling and be different than WWE. And I think these are all easy stories that you could come into. Because I was thinking of to do sports-based stories, right? Yeah. And I'm just thinking there's a million things you can do sports-wise to make wrestling work, and they just don't enough. And I think they should.
Yeah, I like the contract year idea. UFC does the win bonus. So you have a base pay for just the fight, and then if you win, you get another pay. And then if you have the fight of the night or you have the knockout of the night, then you get an incentive on top of that, a bonus.
That would be cool too. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know?
So yeah, that would be really cool. I don't know that they would do it, and if they did do it, it'd probably start and stop. It's kind of what they do.
I know
the fucking rankings, man. These rankings they've tried 2 or 3 times already, and they just kind of start and stop.
Well, Brian Alvarez has to, because Brian Alvarez never watched an actual sport in his life. So anytime you have rankings on there, he gets his panties in a bunch, and then all the people that like to follow him will follow along. Oh yeah, Brian doesn't like rankings. Rankings are bad, because they never watched a real sport. They get mad when someone other than the number one contender gets a title shot.
Yeah.
Because pro wrestling has educated us that only the number one contender gets a title shot.
Stipe Miocic just got a World Heavyweight Championship opportunity, title shot against John Jones, right? Stipe Miocic has not won a fight in 4 years and was ranked like number 7 or 8. It was a match of opportunity.
That's what I'm talking about. And that happens in pro sports all the time. But because Vince didn't do it, all these fucking knuckleheads get all pissy pants about shit.
But you know what? I'm not mad at the knuckleheads for getting pissy pants. They don't bother me. They're just creating content. They're doing their radio shows. Brian Alvarez has got to come. He's on the air literally every day. Who I get mad about are the fucking idiots listening to him and changing their plans because of what talking heads are doing. Right? Tony Khan should only change his plans for 3 people: Mike, JD, and John Muse. Everybody else, fuck him, right? But he should listen to us. But anybody else, like, look, you got to understand that's his opinion. He personally doesn't like it because of where he's coming from as a wrestling fan and because he doesn't understand sports, right? But Tony Khan is an executive for probably the worst team in football, but still a team, right? He understands professional sports. And so he said this was going to be a sports-based presentation, and they started it off, and then they just completely dropped it because of A, they're listening to the podcasters, and B, they hired a bunch of people from Vince's dumpster heap, right, from the scrap heap of WWE, and they're bringing over all these ideas and telling him that the sports-based presentation just doesn't work. When in reality, they were at their hottest when they were a sports-based presentation, and they've been nothing but cold ever since. They're getting colder and colder and colder the more they chase Vince. The more they go after Vince's audience, the colder they get.
And they keep doing it. They keep doing this. Like, you keep listening to Evans, who booked the worst shit that TNA's ever put out. Like, and you got rid of Jimmy Jacobs, but you kept his right-hand man. And I'm sorry. I know we have got people tell us, oh, Peppermint's really liked and she's doing some good stuff. Bullshit. Mercedes Moné is not over anymore. And who's her pet writer? Right? This is like they're listening to the wrong people constantly, consistently, right?
Joe Lanza said it best. He goes, "It's finally." I can't remember exactly what he said, but they put out a video on the Voices of Wrestling YouTube. It says, "It's time to face facts. Mercedes Moné has not been good, and she's had a couple good matches, and she had one on Full Gear.
Yeah, Full Gear was good.
For them overall, she has not been a good hire."
No, she hasn't done much. Like, she hasn't elevated their profile. They're lower than they were before she got hired. It's not all on her. You can't blame her. But I'm going to put some of the blame on her pet writer. Right? She had her special writer in, who, by the way, is behind the Private Party push. They suck. Like, the tag team division's dead. They're not good. Like, they're late. Like, I'm sorry. Private Party is a team that was brought in 5 years ago, got lazy immediately when they got their contracts, didn't work to get better. They're still not better. Yeah. Like, this is like, I don't know, man. Like, the fact that they keep bringing in these WWE people and they don't listen to people who, and I'm not saying us, because I don't want to work there, but I mean, like, they can't try to be different. It drives me nuts. Like, we've gone off on, like, again, apathy kills me. Apathy kills me. Yeah. But the fact that I'm not apathetic anymore and I'm actually angry again, I think is a good thing. As we're leading into the sports-based presentation, and I hope someone could break this down to Peppermint and understand, so she understands how a tournament works and she's not mad that it's not all about, movies and stuff like that. And I hope RD Evans can shut the fuck up and not try to promote his some shit thing he made us watch the time. That stupid pretend wrestling thing.
Yeah, it was the IPWF and then the Wrestle House.
Oh, God.
Yeah, and you know what? The big idea that he had in AEW was the Maximum Male Models skit that they did with Billy Gunn. That was all him.
Of course it was, because he sucks. Like, I remember because you and I, this is right time you and I started doing the show. First showed up Tuesday. Everyone's interest, and they Wrestle House. And people never came back.
Yeah. Hey, you cut out. You were cutting out. Can you say that again?
That sometimes it just kind of been weird last. The shows showed up in all those people. They had all the people watching people go watched. Along. Did they serve us? Wrestle House.
Yeah.
People came back. Tony, the guy who stinks.
I think it's pretty fitting that TNA has had their best year since Anthem purchased the company after they got rid of Scott D'Amore, Jimmy Jacobs, and RD Evans. And this year for Thanksgiving, and I complain about TNA's Thanksgiving shows every single year because I just don't think that they should take it off. I think they should just, I would say every single year they need to make their Thanksgiving show their biggest show of the year because there's such a rich history of Thanksgiving wrestling on. That's what they should do. I don't think they should go live. I'm not advocating for that, but the week before, record a 2-hour special and put together some of their biggest matches of the year all in one show. Well, they're not doing that this year, but what they did do, I thought was kind of cool, is that when they go to these towns, they do dark match main events, and they've been recording those dark match main events, and they put their dark match main events all on this episode coming up for Thanksgiving. So that's much better than doing a Wrestle House or doing an IPWF or just doing a best of special. They're actually just showing new, fresh matches from throughout the year that were dark match main events from their different shows. So that's much better. But TNA's doing a lot better now that RD Evans and Jimmy Jacobs and Scott D'Amore are gone, and we're not seeing all the horse shit. But all right, so let's get to the next match. MJF and Roddy Strong. You know what? Weak build. Two good wrestlers, so obviously the match was like pretty good, but I wasn't really into it, to be honest with you.
Yes.
JD, I could not hear what you were saying.
Man, I don't know. My internet's being really sketchy right now, and I don't know what's going on with it.
Okay. Here's what I'm gonna. We'll go ahead and keep you on, and then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna DM you right now on Twitter. I'll DM you the link, and you might just have to call in on your phone and just do audio only.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah. If you continue to cut out, so here I just sent you the link. Boom. There we go. Okay.
I'll get out and I'll call.
Okay. Cool. Yeah, that'll probably be easier. Also, JD was already on talking about the Full Gear pay-per-view. He was with Jeremy Feinstein over on Fight Game Media. He did that show on Saturday night, so everybody make sure that you go ahead and go check that out. And it's over on the Fight Game Media YouTube channel, so check that out. I think you guys will enjoy their takes. So if you've already heard his takes, forgive us. I assume that not everybody listens to Fight Game Media that listens to this show, although there is obviously a connection there because that's where we came from. But yeah, MJF versus Roderick Strong. The match was fine. Like, these are two good pro wrestlers. The problem is I just didn't care about it. And at no point did I ever think that Roderick Strong was going to win. And everybody kind of gets onto me for the shit that I say about Roderick Strong. I don't think he's a bad person. I don't think he's a bad wrestler. I think he's uninteresting, and I don't find him to be a spectacular pro wrestler. Not that he can't execute the moves. He can, right? He's a very technically sound and proficient wrestler. I just don't find him to be all that interesting and all that entertaining. Okay. If he's on the undercard and he's having, good kick out matches, congratulations. I just don't care. But they did what they did. And I think next we're going to get the MJF versus Adam Cole match, but a match that kind of blew them out of the water, I thought, and quite possibly Mercedes Moné's best matches she's been in AEW is her match with Kris Statlander, where she beats up Statlander and retains the TBS Championship. What did you think of the match, JD?
I thought that as Mercedes is Kris Statlander.
Okay, yeah, you're gonna have to just call in on your phone, bud. I can't hear a word you're saying. Yeah, he's gone. He's gonna have to call back in on his phone. Okay. Well, I thought this was great. She defended her title. Mercedes Moné defended her title after a hard-fought battle with Kris Statlander. It was a really good match. And it was weird that Statlander turned heel just for this feud. So I'm kind of curious as to exactly where she's going to go. It's also weird that she was such a good heel in the feud with Willow Nightingale, Willow Nightingale is such a great babyface, but Willow was just relegated to being a run-in performer on this show. So I don't know what's going to happen there. So we'll stay tuned for that. But the whole thing was just a little bit weird. And then we go to Jay White versus Hangman Adam Page. Again, another pretty good match, but it was also, I think, a bit cold. Honestly, I thought the whole thing was a bit cold. But still a good match. I was surprised that Jay White secured the victory after hitting the Blade Runner. I didn't see that one coming. I thought that Page should have won here. And I know that they really like Jay White. I just don't know that Jay White is ever really going to be the guy that they're looking for him to be in this company. A really good wrestler, top guy in New Japan. He had one main event, and it was last year's Full Gear, and it was probably the worst Full Gear of all time. But I don't know if he's ever going to be like a main event attraction in this company. But Hangman Adam Page is, and Jay White got the victory on the last pay-per-view. And then this match, they get involved in the main event, and I'm sure we'll get there. The result of this match made that whole thing weird to me. But anyway, we'll get to the match of the night. Kyle Fletcher defeated Will Ospreay with an impressive victory. They did probably 10,000 moves and 20,000 kickouts. The match was just freaking insane. And again, my wife had come in while I was watching this match, and she saw Kyle Fletcher hit the tombstone pile driver on Will Ospreay. She's like, "Oh my God." Yeah. And I was like, yeah, this is pretty fucking nuts. What a wild tombstone pile driver. I've never seen anything like that. It was fantastic. They pulled it off. These are two of the best in the world. I'm happy that Kyle Fletcher got the victory here because I think that he's probably the guy. He's a guy that they can go with going forward. Kyle Fletcher is just a tremendous wrestler. And when I say that AEW needs a youth movement, they need a movement in general. They need people that the fans can get really excited about. Kyle Fletcher is one of those guys. And he pulled off one of the best matches of the year. And of course, Will Ospreay is always having matches of the year. So, no big deal for him. But for Kyle Fletcher, I thought this was a great moment, a great showcase of his skills. And the fact that he's going to be a future star in this company and probably a future world heavyweight champion. But tremendous stuff from Kyle Fletcher and Will Ospreay. JD, was that your match of the night?
Yeah, absolutely. That was the best match I saw of the night. I thought it was absolutely fantastic. Kyle Fletcher. People like, why is and it was obviously something. He had there in Aussie Open, and he had that bleed. It's kind of cool, and I think that he just absolutely Ospreay. Like I think this, quite frank.
JD, you're gonna have to get off your Wi-Fi, dude. It's still killing you. You're gonna have to go to like 5G network or something. The internet gods are not with us tonight, folks.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
This is stupid. I'm sorry. I can't believe I don't know, man. I give up. As I said, Kyle Fletcher's pretty fucking good.
Yeah, he really is like one of those generational talents that I think the company should really stay behind. They've done a good job of building him. There is zero reason for them to ever go back to the Aussie Open tag team, even though they're a great tag team. But Kyle Fletcher is so the man right now it looks like Mark Davis is going to turn on Ospreay at some point. But even if he does, I do not want them to reform that tag team because Kyle Fletcher's too good.
No, there's too much value in what Kyle Fletcher's doing as a single right now. You can always go back to Aussie Open if you ever wanted to, although there's no real interest in Aussie Open. Like, 'cause a lot of this fan base doesn't really know Aussie Open. Aussie Open was an Australian/New Japan tag team. They weren't an AEW tag team, right? Like, they just know Kyle Fletcher on his own.
Yeah. When they signed Aussie Open, Mark Davis was already hurt. And then he had to heal up a little bit. And then they did have a little bit of a tag team run. And then he got hurt again. And so really it's just been Kyle Fletcher most of the time. And he has just completely surpassed the ceiling that tag team has. So It's going to be interesting to see what they do going forward with Mark Davis. TNT Championship, Jack Perry. He loses the title to one Daniel Garcia, so it looks like they're going to go with Garcia. I thought this match was pretty good. Yeah, I thought it was pretty good. And I like the fact that Daniel Garcia got the victory here. I don't know where the hell Jack Perry's going to go next because the Young Bucks are gone and Okada's doing Okada stuff. So we'll see what's going to be up with Jack Perry and where he pivots to next. But it looks like this seemed like a feud ender to me.
No, I agree. And then it really comes off like the new Elite can like go take side by side with the new Midnight Express and NWO 2000, and it just when you reboot the stable, it just doesn't work.
Yeah, and you sound much better now, by the way. So that works out. The little switch mixed or made a difference. AEW International Championship, Takeshita, he defeated Ricochet. I'm curious to hear what you have to say about this one because I felt like this match was flat. Like the guys still did some athletic moves. They executed all the moves very well. The whole thing just lacked emotion, and to me, it seemed like Ricochet didn't want to be there. I don't know. Did you think that just something was missing from this match?
No, 100% Ricochet. It was like there, and Ricochet really, for a guy who's got an opportunity to reboot himself, hasn't really seized it yet. You know, like I'm not seeing it. Like he had a very it wasn't a bad match, but it was a very average match with Takeshita, and
yeah.
I don't know if he had boo-boo face on or what, but this is not a guy who looks like he wants to take the world by storm. You know?
Yeah.
I'm disappointed, to be honest.
Yeah, I completely agree. Now, if you look at what the moves they did and the way the things they executed, like it was a fine match, but I think everybody expected more, and it just seemed like there was no energy, there was no emotion. Like neither guy really wanted to do what they were doing, but they still did everything. It was a weird match to watch. But Ricochet has not availed himself very well in AEW. We'll see if he does a little bit better in the Continental Classic, but I'm thinking maybe he thought he was going to come over here and everybody was going to worship at his feet. But what he realizes is there's several people on this roster that are a lot better than he is.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think that a lot of guys from WWE come over to AEW and just assume that because they have that WWE rub, they're going to be special here. And I think that he came in with a rude awakening to realize that he wasn't just going to get handed everything, and to see how much Ospreay has surpassed him in that 6 years, and how much better this roster is than he was expecting, and how much harder he was going to have to work. I don't think because he doesn't seem like he wants to just burst the doors down and get over.
No, I completely agree. Next, we had a very interesting match between Bobby Lashley and Swerve Strickland. They did the WWE barricade spot, which I thought was pretty funny. I was like, and then after I watched it, I went back and looked at some of our favorite Twitter accounts, and sure enough, they were all pissed about it. But I laughed my ass off, like, oh, that's gonna piss some people off, and it sure enough did. But Lashley got a pretty dominating win here, and it was a really good match. But he beat him clean as a whistle. I thought the match was really good. I don't know about the. We'll see what the finish means going forward. Like, what are they going to do next? So I don't really have an issue with it per se. I just want to know what they're doing next with it because I think Dave Meltzer said it best. Like, he's like, if you're beating Swerve Strickland or Will Ospreay right now, then you need to be a top guy next. And so we'll see what happens next.
No, I'm with you. Like they made excuse me, they made a statement. Right, and you put a lot of money and put a lot of time and interest into the Hurt Syndicate, and you swung for the fences right away. So Lashley had to go over. Now, it's not saying Swerve can't go over again at some point, but you had to establish right away that these guys were serious and that you brought Bobby Lashley in, and he's a former world champion in multiple promotions. He's a guy. So you had to establish that it had to happen. And Swerve has a nice long world title reign under his belt, and he's in a position where he can make some people.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, and typically the heel wins the first match, so I think they're going to go back to this, and maybe Swerve will conquer the dragon. There,
I think so.
Yeah, and then the main event, Moxley versus Orange Cassidy. I thought the match was really good. But I thought the ending of the match with all the different run-ins and then Darby Allin getting into a car accident, I thought that was just fucking weird.
It was way overbooked. I don't love the idea of going with a four-way at the next pay-per-view. Although I am comforted by the fact that Moxley will probably, if it's a four-way, Mox probably retains the title a little bit longer. And they're just looking for gimmicks to boost it up a little bit, which is fine because Moxley can still run roughshod in the company while the focus of the company can be on the Continental Classic, right? So Moxley can do his thing, which is fine. It's fine. I don't love it, but it's fine. The car thing, I don't know, man. Cars and I'm with Rich from Voices of Wrestling. Like the cars and wrestling, this isn't for me because I just don't care about cars all that much.
Yeah, I mean, I'm fine if a guy wants to cry. I'm not gonna get like fake, like safety mad over his safety. I'm like, he's gonna like, I don't care about that stuff. So, it's not what I watch AEW for. I'll just leave it at that. But Adam Page being involved is weird considering he's lost back-to-back matches to Jay White on pay-per-view, and it very much looks like he's gonna get a title shot coming up here pretty soon because it's in a four-way. Maybe they make him win some matches before then. I don't know, but he is his pay-per-view record is not very good lately. He did get the big victory over Swerve, but he's lost back-to-back to Jay White. So I don't know what they're gonna do. Maybe they're gonna put him, but him coming out after the match was over, I'm like, you don't deserve to be anywhere fucking near that belt, brother. You just lost twice in a row. Why are you even out here? But he came out, and Christian Cage, who's got the Money in the Bank or whatever they're calling it here, he's got his Money in the Bank briefcase, and then of course Jay White comes out.
He's got his little metal clipboard. That's what Christian Cage has.
Yeah.
This is why rankings are good because it keeps you honest with your booking. But like I said, guys like Brian had a bitch about rankings, so now we can book whatever we want, and we can put four ways in, and it's stupid. I don't love it. Like I said, I'm comforted by the fact that another one of these guys is going to beat Moxley right now, so it's whatever.
Yeah, no, Moxley's reign is going to continue. They're going to delay the Darby Allin match as long as they can. It looks like.
They should. Push that thing up. See what kind of juice you can get out of it.
Yep. Next up, let's talk about the Continental Classic. So the field was announced. So they didn't announce it on Saturday. They said we're going to do selection Sunday. And then 2 hours before they aired it on YouTube, they made the announcement of when you could actually watch it. And so it ended up at like 10:30 Eastern on YouTube. So that's when they decided to do it, but that's whatever, who cares. But the Gold League includes Darby, Claudio, Will Ospreay, Ricochet, Brody King, and Juice Robinson. Juice, I hope your shoulders are doing good, brother, because they're going to be laying on the mat quite a bit in this one.
Someone's got to eat those pins.
Yeah. And then the Blue League has got Okada, Kyle Fletcher, Garcia, Mark Briscoe, Shelton Benjamin, and perennial job talent who always has a really good fucking match, the Beast Morto, so the former Black Taurus. So, again, he's probably not going to win a single match, but he will do great in the tournament.
He's actually he's playing that Ishii role because Ishii does a lot. Ishii doesn't go zero, but I mean Ishii loses a lot in the G1, right?
Yeah.
So, but he always has kick-ass matches. So that's what Mortos is doing here. I think this field is really good. I think it's better than last year's. I think we're going to have some unbelievable matches, and we've got a lot of places to go. I don't think there's an obvious choice for who wins this thing, and that excites me.
Yeah. Yeah, because, I mean, you could have Okada, because Okada's defending the title in every match, right?
Is he? I thought he was just,
or is it
just goes to the winner.
Okay, yeah, okay, so the belt goes to the winner. That's what they're doing. Sorry.
Yeah.
So the belt goes to the winner. I could see the finals being Okada and Ospreay, because I think there's a clear winner in the Gold League, and I think that's Ospreay. But I don't see a clear winner in the Blue League because I could see either Okada or Kyle Fletcher coming out of that one.
I could too. I think you have to go with Kyle Fletcher, to be honest with you. Like if that Ospreay match is going to count, it's got to freaking count.
Yeah, it does. And I think that in the Blue League finals, I think you do Fletcher and you have him go over Okada, and then they got to turn Okada babyface, right? Because no one's really buying him as a heel. The whole thing failed. The whole thing flopped with the Young Bucks. I did like the idea of him being a heel when he came in, and I thought he did a pretty good job. But now he's turned into a one-note joke, saying the B word. It's very clever, guys.
Well, he's been off TV for about a month now, so I think
Yeah.
that they are going to bring him back here and do a little bit of a soft reboot, and he'll just be the Rainmaker, and he'll just do Kazuchika Okada shit, which is what we all want to see anyway,
Yeah.
and just move forward.
Yeah. So but yeah, I agree with you. I think that this the whole field it actually does look better than last year. I think it's
I
gonna
think
be
it is better. I think it is better than last year. I think we're gonna have some awesome matches. It's gonna kill the non-sports nerds that work on that promotion, but some of these guys have to suck it up and understand that the AEW fan base likes sports-based wrestling, and this did do good numbers for them last year, and they need it right now. So let's do it.
and it really kind of brought the feeling back last year, like because Full Gear was such a disaster last year.
Sure was.
It was the Continental Classic that really kind of like reminded everybody why this company was created and why we enjoyed it so much. It's because we wanted our own like American version of like peak New Japan at times, and this was their opportunity to do that. I'm curious. I was curious that there's no. I think didn't we have somebody from New Japan in the tournament? We don't have that. Well, I mean, AEW signed all the top New Japan talent, so that makes sense.
Well, it's also Wrestle Kingdom. It was also Wrestle Kingdom time. Like, you can't ask for them to give up a guy for a month when they're pushing somebody. Like, they could have put Ishii in the tournament. I think they kind of should have put Ishii in the tournament. But Juice is right there. Juice is.
And
And
Mortos.
Yeah.
Well,
it's fine.
Yeah, it looks good. This is an AEW heavy show because AEW is really the only company that has any kind of news out right now. So we'll get to our last couple of stories and then we'll sign off for the week. Although if something does break, like I'm home, JD's home. We might try to connect at some point again later this week if something happens. But as of right now,
I was thinking about recording a special issue edition of the project on my way home from Dynamite on Wednesday because the Continental Classic's going to launch. I figured I could just record it because Lord knows it's going to be a long ride home, so I might as well talk about wrestling with people that I like. So I've been thinking about posting that. So we'll have some Patreon content for everybody this week for sure.
Yeah, we will. Also this week is TNA. They got their Thanksgiving special, and then they got Turning Point. So I'll be back on Saturday covering both of those shows. So there's still going to be a lot coming down the pike. Apologize for the technical issues that we've had on this episode, but I think we were able to figure it out. JD's on his 5G network now instead of his Wi-Fi.
So stupid. I mean, we pay for this crap, man. My wife's gonna hear about this, and then she's gonna raise hell.
Yeah, it's all good. Last couple of stories here. Adam Copeland, he's cleared for physicality, but he won't be back with AEW because he's actually filming Disney Plus's Percy Jackson.
So he's actually really good in that show. Have you watched the first season of Percy Jackson?
I've never seen anything Percy Jackson related. Is it worth my time?
My wife loves the Percy Jackson books. She hated the first Lightning Thief movie. It broke her heart. And her and the kid watched the Percy Jackson show last year, and the two of them really liked it. My wife loves that stuff. And I watched the episode specifically with Adam Copeland. He plays Ares, God of War. And he's really good. So I was entertained by it. Like, I'm happy to hear it.
Yeah. It looks like he is going to be returning to AEW in January, right around Fight for the Fallen time, which would make sense because he lives in North Carolina. It's a show built around a charity to help victims of hurricane disaster there in North Carolina. And that's also going to be the very first, I believe that's the very first simulcast of AEW Max. On TBS and Max, right?
Correct. Good time to bring him back.
I'm very much looking forward to that simulcast because I am now a Max subscriber. So that should be good.
I hate the TBS app. Like with every fiber of my being. I've been fighting this since Warner Media was conglomerated, since they spun off. The app has worked like complete crap. So I'm looking forward to watching it on Max from now on. And I'd like to say that Copeland's return will make a difference, but let's be honest, the man is not a draw.
No.
Never has been, never will be. But he's a good character, and I really like his work in AEW. So I'm hoping that he can kind of hit the ground running again, doesn't do stupid stuff anymore.
Yeah. Don't jump off of cages, dum-dum. You're too old.
If you do, take a bump. Don't try to land on your feet.
Yeah. What a guy. But you know what? You can't say that he's not giving it his all in this company.
No, the man puts his heart. Dude, the man puts his heart on the line every time he does something. He has so much passion. I love Adam Copeland. I really do. Always have. So he's going to give you everything he's got. Hopefully, he can be a little bit smarter this time around. But the company's more interesting with him in it than with him out of it.
Yeah, absolutely. And in our last story, Pentagon Jr. or Penta Cero Miedo or whatever the hell he's calling himself now, his AEW contract is coming to an end. Looks like it's next week. Hold on. Where was I? Yeah, it looks like it's coming to an end. It could be the end of this week or it's next week. He has been rumored to be going to WWE for a long time, but there's also some speculation that he might not go over there right away because WWE wanted the Lucha Brothers act. They didn't really necessarily want Pentagon Jr. by himself, and Phoenix is under contract for a longer period of time. So Pentagon Jr. might be a guy without a home here pretty soon. He played his hand kind of weird, thinking his brother would get let out of his contract, but Tony Khan's going to hold on to that guy. And so he might be kind of in limbo for a little while.
Well, it's funny because Conan, K-Dog got on this podcast and talked about what goes around comes around, forgetting that he started that whole thing when they had FTR lose and then announced that Dragon Lee was going to WWE. By the way, Dragon Lee, huge run he's had in WWE, huge.
Boy, did that flop, man.
I ain't got nothing. I'll leave that be. But Conan, I mean, this is all Conan. Like if they'd have just done stuff on their way out, done it the right way, I'm sure it could have been fine. But Conan had to be a dick about stuff, and this is your manager, man. You chose that guy to be your manager, and here you are.
Yeah. You know what would be really cool? Because I have a TNA podcast, and Pentagon is really, I always credit him for the reason why I started watching Impact again in 2018, because he came over there from Lucha Underground, and I was a Lucha Underground fan, and I loved him in Lucha Underground. He was one of my favorite wrestlers at the time. I think it would be really cool if, while he's waiting for his brother to get out of his contract in AEW and both of them to go to WWE, I think it would be cool for him to have like a 4 to 6 month like TNA run. I think that would be cool.
I'd be fine with that.
Yeah, and there's some interesting matchups there for him. I mean, Sammy Callahan, a little bit rotund right now. Brother gained some weight, but when he wants to, he can probably put on a match. And like their match that they had in 2018 is one of my favorites. But you also got Mike Santana there. That would be a really interesting matchup. Yeah. And I want to see Steve Maclin go one-on-one with Pentagon Jr. I think that would be a really interesting match. So I'd love to see that, man. And I think that's why TNA is such an important part of the ecosystem, is because they are a place where, hey, if you're in between gigs, you can just go there for 6 months and try to rebuild yourself and maybe do something interesting and maybe even up your stock a little bit and get on TV for a little while and do some indie shots before you go to AEW or WWE.
Yeah, I agree 100%. The industry needs a place like TNA, and it keeps people employed. It's a good place for a lot of people to land. I think for in case like this, it gives you a nice little home. That's like Memphis. You get a place you can hang out for a little bit before going to the next territory.
Yeah, and Smoky Mountain used to do that too back in the day, and it was like that was always really cool. I think like every major star at one point or another went through Memphis and had a run with Jerry Lawler. The list of people that actually like worked on top in Memphis with Jerry Lawler is like unreal. Even didn't like The Rock as Flex Cavana have a run with Jerry Lawler?
He did. You know who else did? Virgil.
Yes. Yeah. He was he Soul Train?
No, I think he was actually just Virgil too. I think he was there as Soul Train, but I think he actually did do a run when they had the WWE deal as Virgil.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah, because there for a while, Memphis was like their developmental territory, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Which is why Predictable was there for a little while and why The Rock was there.
Yep. Like, it makes sense. Like, yeah, no, you're right, though. Everyone came through Memphis. From Andy Kaufman to Sid Vicious. Like, it just Hulk Hogan, like everybody had a run with Lawler at some point. So
Randy Savage had a huge run with Lawler.
Oh, that's an all. Dude, I wrote a piece about that for WrestleJoy a few years ago. Like that Randy Savage, it's not a huge long run, but that Randy Savage Memphis run, because it had been set up for so many years prior in ICW, like that's good stuff.
Let's do an overtime about that. I think
let's do that. Yeah. I like that.
And we can I think the matches are on YouTube, or at least like one of the matches is on YouTube. I'm pretty sure. Mm-hmm. And we can talk about the build up to it, talk about like ICW and how they were like an outlaw promotion, and kind of all the shady shit they were doing. And didn't Bill Dundee pull a gun on Savage at a gym parking lot or something?
I think that's how the story goes, and because Angelo would go on ICW TV and say, Jerry Lawler, Randy Savage challenged you to a match where the winner will donate all this money to muscular dystrophy. What's the matter? You're not going to show up and tell the kids you're not going to give them money? Like, it's such scummy wrestling stuff.
Yeah.
I can't wait to talk about it.
Yeah, Angelo Poffo was a bit of a scumbag.
Totally.
Yeah, total scumbag.
Total carny.
Yeah, we should do that. I also want to do an episode about Pro Wrestling USA. I've been fascinated by Pro Wrestling USA. So if you guys are not, I'm just a little bit of a preview of a future overtime episode. I don't know when we'll get to it, but when the WWF expanded and started buying up all the TV stations and taking over the territories, Vern Gagne, Crockett, and Lawler, right? It was Vern, Crockett, Lawler, and maybe even and what was Watson on that too? But they created like this super show called Pro Wrestling USA.
I think it might have been Fritz. I forget. I have to look into it, but it was definitely Gagne, Crockett, and not Lawler. It was not Lawler. It was Jarrett. Like Jarrett was running it. Yeah,
Jarrett, and I think for sure. Yeah, and they kind of pulled all their talent together and put them all onto one show, and it was Pro Wrestling USA. It lasted for like a year too.
It did. I think they ran a big show Comiskey Park in Chicago. I have to go back and dig because I don't remember the Pro Wrestling USA stuff. I know it was kind of a disaster.
It ended up being a disaster because there wasn't a single person in charge, and that's kind of how it usually goes. You get too many people with their own interests, but it started off good. They did a big show, I believe, in New York right away.
I think the first Super Clash might have been that. I think I got to go back and dig because I need to. This
was pre Super Clash. This would have been 85.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Super Clash would have been 86. You're right.
Yeah.
So let's do that. Let's make our overtime plans. Let's do Savage in Memphis and Pro Wrestling USA.
Yeah, that'll be our next two overtime shows. And maybe we'll try to get to one of them this weekend. I don't know. We'll try. I'm definitely. I got a lot of TNA stuff coming up on Saturday. So but we'll try to get something knocked out later this week. But I want everybody to enjoy their Thanksgiving. I'm very thankful for all the Patreon subscribers. You guys keep the lights on over here. You guys pay our StreamYard bill, which is really expensive. So thank you for that. Without you guys, we wouldn't be able to do this.
Sorry, I want to do this real quick. I was telling you this yesterday. I did superhero speak for the first time in like 6 months, and they were busting my balls because someone on the comments dropped a wrestling thing, and I responded, was like, hey, this is not a wrestling show. And they were trying to bust my balls about that, and I had to say, oh, hey, by the way, I cashed my Patreon check the other day. You know, and then they all got, Patreon check. I'm like, yeah, I actually get paid for doing my show.
We get three forms of income: Patreon, YouTube, and Voices of Wrestling. Mm-hmm. It ain't a lot, but it covers a StreamYard bill, and it covers some of my apps that I have. So that's cool.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It justifies the time we spend watching this and talking this, and it makes it a lot. I tell you what, it's not a lot, but there's not a lot of money in podcasting, and to know that people care about what we do means a lot to the two of us. And when you're willing to show a little bit of it with your money, it means a lot. Like, dude, I talked last week on the show about how I didn't have any plans for Thanksgiving. I actually had Patreon subscribers emailing me saying, hey, man, if you're not busy, you can come by my house. And I just like, you don't know me. That's amazing that like this stupid show that you and I have touches people and like lets people like literally invite us in. It means a lot to me that you guys think enough of the two of us like that.
Yeah. When I announced that I was going to Charlotte, I had Patreon subscribers reach out. It's like either, hey, I live in Charlotte, or B, like I can get to Charlotte really quick, man. We need to meet up and like have a little wrestling show and, get some coffee. I think everybody knows I'm not a drinker, but like, get coffee and stuff. I've had like multiple people reach out telling me that, and especially like, hey, I want to meet up at a show and meet you at a show. And I will make every effort to get to as many shows in Charlotte as I can. And if anybody within the sound of my voice is even close to it and you guys can make it over there, I guarantee you we will meet for 100%.
Yeah, man, we are so thankful that people take the time and energy and care enough about what the two of us do to listen. Like Mike and I, we're going into year 4 of this show. and like we've been with Voices for a little over a year now, and it's
Yeah.
just grown. It's just grown what we've been able to do. Like, oh, I'm so appreciative. I'm so thankful for what Joe and Rich have created over here, and letting us into their tent has made a huge difference for the two of us and what we do. And it really, again, it just means a lot to me personally that we were able to take this silly little thing. Like we were like the bottom of the Fight Game Media podcast. Like when we started out, we were like the bottom of the bottom, and like climbed our way up, and here we are almost 4 years later. It's awesome, man. I'm so thankful for this.
Yeah, I'm very thankful. I'm thankful to all the YouTube subscribers too. You guys, like the people that are on YouTube that always just give, like when you guys just give us a simple thumbs up, you guys have no idea how helpful that is in getting our videos out to more people. And the more people that watch the videos, the more ad revenue that brings in. And that is really important. Like that is so helpful to us. And so even if you're not a Patreon subscriber, if you're just a YouTube subscriber, or you just listen to it on the Voices of Wrestling Network, thank you so much. Just very thankful for the audience. And we're going to continue to work hard to give you guys as much content as humanly possible. Look, JD said he's going to try to do a Patreon show on Wednesday night. Now you need to flood his DMs and make sure he does it. So just make sure.
I'm the worst about that. I can fully admit that. No, I got time though, and I'm not taking Andy. I'm going by myself, so I have nothing else to do on the way home.
Yeah, and I already have a script generated for a new idea for a podcast called The Witching Hour, where I'm going to talk. Yeah, I'm going to talk paranormal, UFOs, cryptids, conspiracies, just weird stuff. I have a bunch of stuff. I've got it all punched up. I tried to get to it last night. I really did. But man, is my sleep all weird right now. And so after I finished Full Gear, I was planning on coming up here and doing that, but I passed out immediately. As soon as Full Gear was over, I fell asleep. So I'm going to try to stay up late one night during the Witching Hour and record an episode of the Witching Hour to get to everybody. So if you guys really want that type of content, if you're interested in it, drop me a DM, drop a comment, let us know, and I will get that content out there to you guys. But if I'm going to record it and nobody cares, I'm not going to do it. So if people want it, I'll give it to you.
Well, that's like the comic stuff that I've been doing. Like I'm surprised if people are like, "Hey, what's up with the comic thing?" I had someone going, "Hey, when are you going to finish Killing the Town?" I'm like, "I just got to get through grad school. I got to get through grad school. Like I'm almost done. I just got to get through it."
Dude, I'll be honest, because I'm not a comic book guy. I did not realize how many of our listeners and subscribers like the comic books. There's such a crossover appeal, and I think that if you did more comic book stuff and kind of focus some of your experience around that, like the JD Oliva project around that, we could probably do some damage not only in Patreon but on like clips on YouTube. I think we might have a little bit of something there.
Yeah, you might be right. I mean, Andy and I, because Andy's reading them now, like, so I'm back to being a going to the shop every week guy. So my comic collection's like growing again. I'm like, I just need to talk about these things. Yeah. Because we kind of got away from that on Superhero Speak and just started talking about TV and stuff. And I would much rather talk about comics again. So that's what's great about having this this Patreon network, is you and I can just do whatever the hell we want. Yeah. We got our show, and we've always talked about them. That's why we never called it a wrestling show. We called it the Mike and JD show, because it could be whatever the hell we want it to be, whenever the hell we want to be it. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So, but again, thank you guys. That is going to do it for us this week. And until next time, mahalo.
Competition starting to get thick. It's the click, so I hope you watch your A game. Ain't made no rain from the track when we